So it's going live on YouTube.
Yay.
And did you get a message to say your meeting is being live streamed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right. I'm going to make my other me a host. So then if any people that come in, I don't need to hear them because he can mute them. Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. Monthly update for May with Zebunisso Alimova, your Wellington based mortgage advisor with Mike Pure Mortgages. And tonight I am joined by beautiful Suzette McArtney from New Zealand Sutherbys. Suzette, hello and welcome. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Suzette McArtney, and I'm a sales agent for New Zealand Sutherbys International Realty. And I'm based in Kapiti as well. Mother of 3 children and a dog.
3 children? I thought you had 2.
Oh, I've got well, the dog counts, right?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And how long have you been here in Kapiti?
So I've been in Kapiti 6 years this May, actually. So it went by really fast, and yeah, loving it. I mean, you're getting the days we've been getting is what do you call it? It's been amazing. So yeah, can't think of a better place.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying Kapiti. Before that, I lived in Palmerston North, and that's it, really. I think I lived all my life in Palmerston North since I came to New Zealand. And we went to Palmy on the weekend to visit. And oh my God, I remembered why I was very pleased to leave Palmy. It was so windy and cold and just not pleasant. We don't get much wind here in Kapiti. So that's very nice. Suzette, where did you come from originally before Kapiti?
So I've kind of have an extensive, it's such a loaded question, where you come from. I was, well, I was born in the Philippines, but I grew up in New York, and I've been living in California, I guess, most of my life. And then before we moved to New Zealand, we were living in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi for about 5 years. And then we decided to come here. My husband's from here, and yeah, and here we are. And
nice.
yeah.
And I understand you've got some experience in property back in your American days.
Yes, so I've invested in real estate at a very young age, and unfortunately, 2008, I really felt the impact on it. But invested in all over California, Las Vegas, Arizona.
Wow.
And 2008 happened, and it just decimated all of that. But it didn't deter me from believing in real estate, because I've always had a passion for it. So, and here I am.
Awesome, living the dream. So with New Zealand Sutherbys, it's quite a big international brand, isn't it?
Yes, and that's the reason when I did decide, I was a chef in LA, and I had a catering company called Passion Foods LA in Santa Monica before I moved to New Zealand, or the Middle East. And the reason I chose New Zealand Sutherbys, other than all the other agencies that we have in Kapiti, let's face it, we've got over a dozen. The reason why I went with Sutherbys is because it's an international brand that no matter where you are in the world, we will have an office. You can walk into Tokyo or Chicago, and that's the beauty of it. It's recognizable. It's got a good reputation, and it's been around for a long time.
That's awesome. So what have you seen happening in the market at the moment from your point of view, before I dig into what I see as a mortgage advisor?
It's definitely changed. We call it more realistic. It's a more realistic market. The last couple of years, the prices just kept going up and up and up, and just really insane prices. Now it's a bit more realistic. We've definitely seen a softening in the market. Buyers are taking their time to look, because there are a lot more stock in Kapiti. I mean, if we're comparing it from what was in stock the same time a year ago, it's definitely, there's hundreds of properties on the market, whereas a year ago there was probably be 40 in a specific place, in whether Ramati or Waikanae. The buyers are taking their time because they've got more to choose from. Open homes are quiet.
Wow.
One property I had on the market a year ago, the same time, a first-time home buyer type of property, and I would get 20 people, 20 groups, 30 groups coming in on a open home, and now you're lucky if you get 5.
Wow.
And other agents that I'm talking to across companies are saying some of them, no one shows up.
What do you think is driving this change?
I think the big massive thing was the banks. The banks changing. Am I supposed to say that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all honest in here. Last week we've been discussing Jacinda and her interest rates, and then my video got blocked on YouTube, and then we unblocked it. So it's probably going to get blocked again because I dropped her name into it. So yeah, it's absolutely honest platform. We discuss anything. So yes.
I mean, I'm not an expert. Obviously, that's your expertise. Not by no means my expertise on financing at all. But we did see a decline even towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, definitely because of tighter restrictions. I've been hearing from first-time home buyers that it's more difficult. They have to jump to more hoops to get in the market. People that's already in the market that wants to maybe upgrade are having a hard time getting bridging financing.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know that more than I do. So
yeah. So let me share a little bit what I've seen, and because this is my monthly update, what happened in the last month. Basically, yesterday our Reserve Bank of New Zealand has lifted official cash rate again by 0.5. Normally, in normal settings, they would be lifting it at 0.25, but they've been lifting it over 0.5 each time. And what it's doing is that they're trying to keep the economy down. They're trying to keep the spending down because people have been crazy since COVID. Everyone's been buying boats and spa pools and just spending a lot of money on their houses. And that's really drove the economy a bit crazy. So now the Reserve Bank is trying to unwind what they've done a couple of years ago. They've also lifted, obviously the banks have their own caps of how much they can go up to lend for people that don't have 20% deposit. And this is where the problem strikes, because at the moment, out of 4 major banks in New Zealand, 2 of them already exceeded the cap and they're out of picture. So basically ASB clients that bank with ASB and therefore sovereign as well is out of capacity to lend anymore, and so is BNZ. So at the moment, I can't do any deals for BNZ if you don't have 20% deposit. And Westpac will only take their own clients. They will only give money to their own clients. So each bank is looking after their own pot. And same with ANZ. And in order to be their client, you have to have been banking with them for at least 3 months. And this is where a lot of struggle comes in, because people would be keen to buy property. And the bank says to them, well, we can't approve you for high LVR position, low deposit application. We can't approve you. It has to be a live deal. Poor people go out, find a deal, come back to the bank with a live deal. And then the bank says, oh, sorry, we're actually out of cap. So out of funding, we can't actually give you any money. Or what I'm also seeing, even if people can get approvals, because the testing rate has been increasing, even in the past months, it has increased again by another 0.25 for certain banks. So that's a stress rate that we test people on, what people can afford to buy if the rates continue to go up. So this rate has also increased in the last months. And what happens is a month before, if people could afford to borrow 700K, now they can only afford to borrow 600 or 650K. So when people come to you, Suzette, they put an offer, let's say, for 700K, and then they come back and they say, hey, actually, I can't afford this anymore. Would your vendor accept 50K discount? Is that what you've been seeing?
Well, to be honest, we don't even get to that point, because sometimes people just can't get it together. And that's, I think one of the tips we can talk about is that before you even start looking, so your heart is not bashed, because, you get something, you find the house that you really like, and then you realize you don't even have your ducks in a row.
Yeah. So that's another thing you mentioned, that, you know, it's important to have your ducks in a row, because if you don't, then you find yourself in this position where you're like, oh, I don't know where I'm doing, what I'm doing and where to start from. So what else happened in the last month? Basically, OCR, stress rates, and something else I was going to talk about. I completely forgot. So yeah, property prices. So they're going down as well. So good time to buy for those that are looking for long-term investment. And this is where you got to decide what kind of investor you are, what kind of buyer are you? Are you buying for the long term, or you buying to flip? A lot of my flippers, developers, have been stung where they've bought properties 3 to 6 months ago, renovated, thought they could flip it back onto the market, but the market has changed so fast that now they're stuck with these properties. And if you're in a good position where you can rent the property and wait it out, that's probably the best piece of advice at the moment. But if you're in a position where you have to sell, I'm seeing a lot of my flippers taking the losses.
Yes,
and running with it.
absolutely right.
So Suzette, now that I have you here today as an agent, what sort of questions people should be asking when they go to your open homes?
Well, first and foremost, and I'm not just saying this because I'm in a webinar with you, first and foremost, before you can even think about looking at a property, I think it's so important. And I can say this because I went through this myself, you know, when I was investing in real estate, you know, decades ago, is find out exactly the first person you should talk to if you're looking for property is not your real estate agent, but it's your mortgage broker, because that mortgage broker is going to hopefully be realistic with you and be honest with you and say, this is what you could borrow. Because oftentimes it might be more than what you think, or it could be less. And you don't want to fall in love with a house and find out that it's way above what you're capable of seeing. But then at least you know what budget you have and you can confidently go to an open home. And no, I mean, how many people attend my open homes? And when I start to talk about them with the offers and, you know, they love the property and they say, oh, well, you know, I haven't even spoken to my bank or a broker yet. And it shocks me actually that they do it backwards.
That's so funny. So what else could people be doing to help themselves in today's market?
The big thing is do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. It's not, you're not wasting your time, you're not wasting a real estate agent's time. I've had people look at where the address is in a map. You know, is that a place where you want to live? I mean, I've had people come into an open home, drove 2 hours away, and then they realize, oh, this is not the side of Parapara-Umu that we want to live in. And well, you should have looked at a map and kind of worked it out. I mean, you wasted 4 hours of your day, that and you know, my time and the vendor's time, because they have to tidy up the whole house for you, you know, to see it, to present it, and taking that time for that. So do your due diligence. Ask the agent questions before you even go to the open home. Ask if there's any disclosures, because you don't want to waste your time looking at a property and then you find out it's a leaky house. So call the agent, say, look, is there any disclosures? Do you have a builder's report? Have you got a limb? Can you send me a property file? I think that's a smart way to do it. You know, ask the agent questions before you even go to the open home.
So now that it's a buyer's market, I think a lot more agents will be working more closely with the buyers. I know in the past year, the market was so crazy, as you say, 20 people could turn up to an open home. I don't think agents even had the capacity to look after those buyers. And
I always look after my buyers, by the way.
Oh, that's good to know. Regardless of the market.
Regardless of the market, because I think I've told you the story. When I moved to New Zealand 6 years ago, I was a buyer, and I went to open homes. I wasn't an agent then, and I spoke to all the agents, and I said, "Look, we're a family of X, and we've got X amount of money. I don't necessarily like this house, but if you got anything else, please email me or put me on your list." And not one agent got back to me. So we ended up building because we couldn't find the house that worked for us. And in New Zealand, there's no buyer's agent. No one is actually assisting the agent in the process. And I think that's important.
Maybe that's a niche we could look into down the track, Suzette, you and I, our next business venture. Get some buyer's agents. So I know you sent me through a little, you sent me a couple of things. One was a report for the last month in April from
REINZ.
Yes, thank you. What does it stand for those that don't know that acronym?
It stands for Real Estate Institute New Zealand. Basically, they monitor everything real estate. They monitor real estate agents. So if you got any questions or complaints, you go directly to REINZ and they facilitate the buyer. They basically manage and they're the authority for real estate.
So can people get their own reports, the one that you sent me?
I'm not sure because I have to get that from my own database. But I'm sure if someone wanted to email me, I'm happy to send them a report. But basically, the report is just saying that yes, the property market has gone down and it's gone up to anywhere to 30%. We think the reports are behind because obviously a lot of properties are currently sitting on the market for a long time.
Yeah.
So the true impact of is not really getting felt. I mean, it's not on the stats yet. We're going to see that in the upcoming months of what the true impact of the properties once they actually do sell. You're going to see a lot of properties going to be withdrawn from the market because it's not just meeting the vendor's expectations anymore. So I think those stats aren't actually that accurate on what's really happening in real time because it's a bit behind.
It's a bit behind. Okay, now that's cool. I was just going to share my screen to show you, to show the listeners some of those stats that we were talking about, even though they're a little bit behind, but I think they still give us a bit of a true picture. Admin, can you please give me ability to share the screen? Sorry. Hello, my admin must have fallen asleep. Hold on. There we go. Awesome. All right. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. It says 200%. We don't want it that big. So monthly report. Let's have a look. We'll just have a look at some key data. Obviously, talks a lot about different regions. So nationally, funny though, nationally, it says that we up with prices.
That's from last year because it's still recovering. Last year was such a big spike.
Yeah.
We are still up, but vendors are still expecting
those prices, but they're not getting these prices.
Getting these prices anymore.
And then we see here that nationally priced on months. So just from last month to this month, let's say from March to April, we see the drops. So nationally, it says minus 1.7, and New Zealand, excluding Auckland, 2.4, and Auckland is obviously hit the hardest.
Yeah, Auckland's hit the hardest, but those numbers, this percentage, I think doesn't really give the true effect of what's actually happening at the moment because it is higher. It is a bigger, I can name many examples of properties that just aren't selling.
Yeah, and the days to sell, we're looking 38 to 40, but you're telling me it's even more than that.
Oh, the house across the street from me took 6 months to sell.
Oh, wow.
Which is unheard of in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I remember last year that I would appraise a property and visit the client, and there's a for sale sign in the neighbor. And by the time I come back a few days later, there's a sold sign.
Yeah. I remember like even, the sign would go up and pretty much the next day there could be the sold sign. Like it was that crazy.
It was insane.
So yeah, it's really interesting to see what's happening. So it's a really cool report for those that want to get, if you love your numbers, if you like sitting there dwelling into it, get in touch with the agents that you're friends with, get in touch with Suzette. and we can look into it for you, and you can have a look what's actually happening. And it's broken down region by region. We've got all the way from Northland down to South Island. So it's quite a cool report. So it shows for those that are in Auckland what's happening. So if you are watching the market, if you are after a good bargain, or if you're after your first home, now is probably a good time to buy. Waikato and so on. So it's quite a cool, fascinating report. Comes out every month, and you can either try to contact REINZ directly and see if you can get a copy of it, or get in touch with your agent. Right, I'm going to stop sharing this one. And another file you sent me, which I thought was really cool, was your little PowerPoint of recent sales. I mean, I love looking at homes, but gosh, this is some of them next level. Do you want to talk me through some of these houses? I mean, look, this house.
Yeah,
Oh
so the reason I brought up these particular properties was that the time it was sold, this was that they broke record for their area at the time. So the top one, their number 10 Ferndale Drive, that broke the area for Ferndale. This is the highest. It was a 3-bedroom house, 250 square, and that went for 2.3.5 back in October. Ooh. So it really broke the record for the area, because if you think about it, it's a 3-bedroom house in Waikanae, and you know, a lot of people weren't used to seeing those numbers. The one 18 Wairiri Road, that sold towards the end of the year as well in Belmont, and at the time that went for 1.670. That also broke the record for the area. It was the highest sale at the time. 85 King Arthur Drive in Otahanga, that was broke the record for Otahanga when it was sold at the time. And 19 Captain Edward Daniel Drive in Niall, that was also the highest sale in the area. I mean,
amazing. Yeah. That's one stunning house. I mean, seriously, how big is that house? The 19 Captain.
It's actually not that big, but it's a really cool house and cool view.
Wow, that looks absolutely stunning. So if we go to the next page, you've got a couple of others in here. So it looks like Sutherbys do a lot of luxury properties, yeah?
We do typically, we do luxury properties, but our thing is we don't also, and we do everything in between, because luxury is an experience, you know, not a price point. So that's kind of our motto, that everyone deserves the same style of service, type of service, no matter what your house is like. It's, you know, you're the queen of your castle, so you should get the treatment. You know, you don't deserve less, you deserve the same, and if not more. So that's kind of how we do things at Sutherbys. It's the service is really important to us, and it's what we're known for.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Suzette, for that. Now, we'll just open up the floor for questions. And if we've got any questions, we'll answer them. And if there are no questions, then we'll go home. Oh, we are home. Now, just a quick question to you, Suzette, is you have your camera off.
Do I?
Do you know that? There we go. There we go. Now I can see a beautiful face. Awesome. So any questions, please?
No questions. I have friends that are trying to watch it on YouTube live right now. They're messaging me saying, "I'm trying to watch you now," and I can't message them to say, I'm on it right now. I can't answer your questions.
So are they watching you right now?
Yes, they're trying to watch live.
Okay. They can ask questions on YouTube. If they are watching you, they can ask questions on YouTube as well.
Or they'll just ask me. So no, all right. Okay, so no questions so far?
Yeah, no, that's, hold on.
Let me ask you, Zebunisso.
Yep.
What is your tips for first-time home buyers, like besides, you know?
Besides selling a kidney?
Besides calling you first, obviously.
I think one of the greatest tips at the moment is really what you're spending, what your budget, and because the banks have got tighter, even though, you know, there is a talk that the banks are relaxing the rules. Yes, they relaxed a little bit, but I mean, the foundation has always stayed the same. So if you're notorious with your money, if you're doing all sorts of things out there, it will get picked up and your loan will get declined over it. So try to be good with money, try not to get into overdrafts and unarranged overdrafts, and leave week to week. Be responsible with money. I have been quite proud of myself, to be honest, that in the last week I pulled this guy through across the line, which I thought I would never do, and I did, and he was absolutely amazing. We ended up going to second-tier lender for him because none of the banks had any funding for him, and he just didn't fit the profile for them. But I've been working with him for the past 3 years, and where he was and where he got to, listening to my advice and everything, was just absolutely amazing to watch. So it's possible for anyone that's out there thinking, oh, you know, my credit is crap and I can't do this and I can't do that. You just have to listen to good advice and just follow through. So my advice, just be good with money. Now we do have some questions coming in. Okay, so what would the first home buyers need to do when they meet you besides their due diligence? What else can they do?
Ask questions. I love it when people ask questions. Ask it while you're there so we can discuss it, you know, in real time, because calling me sometimes and saying, oh, is there a, you know, is there a latch on that door in your property? And I'm going, oh, hold on, I gotta think. I've got 5 properties on at the moment. But when we're there, talk to your agent and ask as much questions as you want. You know, that's the time to do it. It's one of the biggest investments of your life. Ask away.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, it is the biggest investment, like especially if it's your first home. I remember, like you know, when I was buying my first home, it was absolutely nerve-wracking experience. You want to buy that perfect home for yourself, and sometimes I think people are fixated that this is going to be forever home, and sometimes it's not forever home, you know. But it is your biggest investment, especially these days when it costs quite a bit of money. All right. Well, that's a bit of a, I'm not sure about this question. How many leaky houses out there?
You don't know. That's why you do your due diligence.
Yeah.
You spend the money. If you like a house, spend the money on a builder's report. You know, I know it's for some people, they don't want to do it. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to do it. You're spending, you know, a lot of money on a house. You know, when you buy a car, you probably will take it to a mechanic and have them look at it first. Why would you not do that on your biggest, investment? Really,
exactly.
Get a builder's report or get it looked at.
Next question: do the agents provide the information or need to be asked for?
They usually need to be asked for. I always offer it. If someone's interested in the property, no matter what the property has or doesn't have, I will say, I'll send you the property file. I always, as Sutherbys, as a rule, will always recommend to our vendors before we put the property on the market to get a builder's report. We always highly recommend the vendor gets a builder's report so that it protects them and it protects the buyer. So then you get to the end of the campaign, the buyer is not going, I'm not sure. And you're saying, well, here's the builder's report. You're obviously encouraged to get your own, but at least you have a little bit more of peace of mind that there was something done.
No, absolutely. And I mean, as a mortgage advisor as well, I always annoy my clients especially if it's a pre-approval for a first-time buyer. I always say to them, I need at least a blank sales and purchase agreement, or if there are some disclosures in the sales and purchase agreement, I need to see, you know, this or that. Does your agent have it? So the more you provide the buyer, the better they're equipped to go further with their lending.
There's no point of we always say in our business and for Sutherbys, and we kind of use this ethos that it just protects everyone. You know, a good negotiation is when everyone is happy. You know, it protects the buyer, it protects the vendor, it protects the agent, because you don't want to be called out 10 years from now as an agent saying that you sold a leaky home and you didn't know. But if you had and the vendor, maybe they don't know that they had a leaky home, or and then the buyer didn't know. But when everyone is on the same page, and it's all transparency is king.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's an interesting one for you as an agency. Since you've got offices across the world, can you help with buying and searching for properties somewhere else?
Absolutely.
Awesome. That was a quick answer. That's a fun one. I'm not sure if you know, I've got YouTube series called Don't Be Like Mark.
Yes, I've been following Mark. I love Mark.
You love Mark? You watched him?
Mark. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Well, no offense to all the Marks out there, but what is the common question that people often ask of you, so we can maybe add it to our Don't Be Like Mark series?
People ask, we laugh about it. People say, you know, the questions they ask me. I don't think there really are necessarily stupid questions. I think ask whatever question you want. And buyers always surprise me because each buyer asks a different set of questions. What's important from one buyer is totally different from the next. You know, I have buyers who ask me, you know, when was the last time they changed the light bulbs? And I get, you know, or not that necessarily, but just something that really stumped me, you know, and I'm going to have to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. But just ask away. It's, you're not.
Do you get a question of, did anyone die in this house?
Yes, and we have to disclose it. So your agent does have to disclose it if someone died in that house.
But how long do you go? 30 years, 20 years, 100 years?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and those, but you know, I think, like I said before, transparency is king. If you know as an agent that 10 years ago someone died there in unsavory circumstances, you just say to the buyer, I say, look, this was 10 years ago, but this is what happened to this house, and they can decide for themselves whether 10 years is long enough or not.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you know, but because you're not really from New Zealand, but there's this massive famous case about this guy in Palmerston North. Hi, cat. My cat often joins me at webinars. This guy, we're going to get quite dark in here. So for those that don't like dark and gloomy, you can switch off. But there's a guy that killed his wife. He, oh
no.
They said that he killed it, but he's like, no, I didn't. But there was like brain stuff everywhere in the room. And so apparently he shot her or he did something. I don't know. I think it was the wife and the kid. I don't remember. And I don't remember the name. It's that time of the night. But his house was literally where I had my house in Palmerston North. We could see that house. And I had no idea it was that house, like completely. I didn't. Until it was on the news again, because every, I think, 10 years he goes up for trial again to prove that it wasn't him. And it was all over the news, it was everywhere. And the poor people that lived in that house, they had no idea. And then suddenly all this media was all around them. Oh, it was absolutely awful. So ever since then, I always get like, oh, I hope, you know, every house that people buy, they ask those questions. And as you say, like if the agents know, they should really disclose, because I'm sure the people that sold that house to these people, they would have known.
It's not ethically, it wouldn't be ethical it'd be illegal for the agent actually to not disclose if they themselves know. But like sometimes I put a house on the market and I knock on the doors of the neighbors, and I introduce myself and I say, hi, I'm marketing that property, you know, next door. And the neighbors are the one that tells you the real dirt. And you go, oh, okay, well, the vendor didn't tell me that, but thank you. It's just, yeah, but then, you know, a good agent, an ethical agent will tell you what they know, and they should. Most agents, I think, you know, should and would tell you what they know, because, and it's a small town. New Zealand's a small country. It's a small town. It's a village. Everyone knows everyone. So I don't, you know, you're not doing yourselves any favor if you're going to lie or if you're going to do something unsavory.
Yeah, I love that word today, unsavory. I'm going to start using it.
I think I've been eating too much baking.
I think it's because, yeah, your other background is in being a chef and stuff. Yeah, you're using some really cool words there. Okay, there are some few other questions. One of them is it possible? Oh, hold on. Do you deal with commercial buildings?
We do. Not me personally, but we can, depending on what.
Okay,
What?
cool.
Yeah.
Right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you everyone for your questions. Now, if you do have anything else to ask, you can message me, or you can find Suzette. She's awesome on Instagram as well. I follow her and her dog journey sometimes.
Follow me on Instagram, Suzette McArtney. Yeah.
Awesome. McCartney, like Paul McCartney?
No, not quite as rich and famous.
Yeah, that was my personal question. Are you related?
No, I don't. Yeah, if not rich and famous, no.
Just because you're from America, you're not.
Yeah, look, he's British, right? Oh, yeah.
I know, right? A bit of a joke. So when I first came to New Zealand, a lot of people asked me if I was related to Borat. And I'm like, how? And they're like, well, he's from Kazakhstan. I'm like, that's an actor. You realize it's an actor. I'm not related to Borat.
Is he from Kazakhstan? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ali G, I think the actor's name. And I think he's from UK.
Sacha Baron Cohen is British.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his other alternative ego was Ali G. Sorry, I'm getting all this up. Yes. No,
so yeah. Great. Yeah.
There we go. So Suzette, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you had as much fun as I did. More of a chit chat than economic update. I mean, I'm not an economist, but I hope we gave our buyers and sellers some sort of idea of what's going on in the market. And any parting words of wisdom?
Ask questions and trust the experts. That's why they do. You know, I would never assume I know how to do my own taxes, or I'm not an accountant. You know, I wouldn't assume I can do better on my mortgages. That's why I call you Zebunisso, because that's not my expertise. I'm not a builder. And I tell buyers when they come to the house and ask me these building questions saying, oh, do you think the roof is I'm not a builder. And I'm very upfront and honest about that. I'm a real estate agent. That's beyond my level of expertise. So please, but ask those questions and listen to the experts. You know, if a builder is telling you don't buy this house because it's going to crumble, maybe listen. Or if your mortgage broker gives you an advice about your spending, maybe listen. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you can join me again in a few months' time, and have a fantastic night.
Yes. Thank you, guys. And get in touch with